We all know that there is no greater relationship in the world than blood relationship. But sometimes this blood relationship is defeated. Actually, love has a different power. Today, I am going to know the story of such a movie, with the power of which even one person can be taken as one's own. There are many examples in the world. I was talking about Caijin, a Korean movie based on a true story. You never know when your eyes will start to tear up while watching the movie. So let's start today's explanation without delay. A small village in China, where everyone in the village consummated the marriage of 43-year-old Caijin and 41-year-old disabled Lu in an annual ceremony. Lu can't walk. The two of them have no one to call their own in this world. They earn their living by making various things from bamboo and selling them. In order to be shadow of each other in their old age, they get married. On the other hand, at the crossroads of this village, a woman was standing with a child in her arms. There was a kind of conflict going on in his mind. He didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, before Caijin and Lu begin their married life, Caijin tells Lu, "I am still very poor, but I promise to keep you happy for the rest of my life." Lu tells him, "I can never give you a child." They both are talking about happiness and sadness. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, they hear the sound of a baby crying. Lu Caijin calls the cops after arriving in the courtyard. They find a cute baby with a small foot. Someone has left it here. This was the greatest gift of life for them. Next day, a panchayat man who is their neighbor comes to know about this. He understood how eager Caijin and Lu were to keep the child, but he had to tell the panchayat. He tells them to follow some rules to adopt the baby. Until then, you can keep the baby with you. From that day, their whole world revolved around this child. They wanted to name the baby. This baby had a red stone bracelet on his hand, which is called Caijin in Chinese. And that's why they named the baby Caijin. A few days later, the panchayat man came and gave them an official document. In fact, since the child was not found for a long time, the panchayat ordered the child to be adopted as their daughter. Both of them were very happy. They could not imagine that the Creator had kept so much happiness for them. For this happiness, they would give up their whole world. Time slowly passed. One night it was raining heavily. Caijin's body had a severe fever. Caijin arrives at the hospital this night, in the rain, with her tied behind. The doctor treated the child very quickly, and he said if you had come 30 minutes later, I can't even tell what would have happened. This is how 9 years slowly pass. Caijin has grown up. Now he can help his parents a little. One day, Caijin is admitted to school. On the first day of school, he befriends a girl named Chen. Seeing a small instrument near him, Caijin asked. He says, music can be heard by putting it in the ear. Caijin likes it a lot. After the class is over, some naughty boys in the class were talking to each other. Have you seen Caijin's father? He is quite an old man. Everyone laughed out loud at this. Some distant Caijin overheard this, and he got angry at them for it. A boy named Seo says, "Okay, let there be a race. Whoever wins will be accepted." The race begins. Caijin loses the race, but forgets all about it when he returns home. Caijin is very serious about his studies. While he was sitting studying, his father, Caijin, asked him a question, which he answered immediately, much to the delight of his parents. He tells his father about the instrument used to listen to music at school. "Dad, when you get the money, will you buy me such a musical instrument?" Aizen wants to buy it for him. Because if his beloved daughter wants something from him, how can he not do it? In fact, every parent in the world wants to fulfill their child's wish. This is how more days pass. One day, as it was raining heavily after selling the things Bash had made, Caijin bought a musical instrument for his daughter. But luckily, something else was written. Due to a slip on the road, Caijin falls down with a bicycle. Their neighbor Jane brings Caijin to the hospital, where Caijin is under treatment. Caijin cries, seeing his father unconscious. Dr. Jane says that his leg is damaged. It will take a long time to heal. Maybe he is paralyzed. Why only his daughter came? Why didn't anyone else in his family come? Jane says, already his wife is paralyzed. I wonder how they will survive now. Caijin regains consciousness. He says to Caijin, Dad wanted to bring you music instrument, but unfortunately I fell. Cousin says Dad doesn't want that. I just want you to get well soon. Within a few days, Caijin was released from the hospital. Jane carried him home. Jane Lu says, if you need anything, tell me. Never hesitate. Lu thanked him. The two of them were discussing at night. How will their family run if both of them lie in bed like this? Cousin wakes up early in the morning and goes to the river. To clean her clothes, Lu wakes up and sees that her cousin is not at home. She calls her daughter a lot. Meanwhile, it is seen that the cousin wearing the school dress collects some medicinal plants, as if her father will get well soon. Leaving the juniper plant outside the school, she enters the class. But she is 10 minutes late today. The old school madam has gone somewhere for a month for some reason, and today a new school madam has arrived. He doesn't know anything about Caijin. He gets a little angry with Caijin for coming late, but Caijin quietly comes and sits in his seat after the class. Chen asks him, till today you are not late for a day. You come to school early every day. So what was the problem at home? At first, the cousin tries to ignore this, because he doesn't want everyone to know about his house. But after Chen asks her several times, she makes him promise not to tell anyone else. After hearing everything, Chen tells her, if you ever need anything, you must tell me. Along with that, he gives his instrument to Caijin to listen to music. Caijin would visit his parents at home during tiffin and return to school after finishing some necessary chores. He did not have time to eat at noon, but still, he doesn't mind. He comes back home after school to finish his homework. Father cooks for mother and eats together with them at night. After feeding them, other household chores are done. Actually, responsibility never comes in people's life depending on age. A person becomes responsible due to circumstances and needs. To do all the homework, Caijin can't do his class studies properly anymore. After finishing all the homework, when he sat down to read a little, he fell asleep. And that's why he had to listen to Madam every day for not being able to study in the class. Seeing this situation one day, Chen wants to tell Madam, but Caijin stops him, thinking that if all the students know about him, then everyone will look down on him. A boy at school always bullies Peng Cai Jin, he says to him. Why are you always running? Are you trying to outrun me? Saying this, Caijin takes the stone off the barrier and says, if you can win the race with me again, then I'll give it back to you. Finally, there is competition between them again, and Caijin wins this race. Meanwhile, a doctor comes and tells Caijin that he will not be able to come for a few days, and that's why he should take his own injection. When the cousin finds out, the doctor won't come. Then she cries a lot. Her parents say the doctor told them to practice themselves. That is, Caijin should push the injection by himself. At night, Caijin takes an injection syringe and pushes himself several times in his own body. The next day, his father sees the wound on Caijin's hand and realizes that Caijin himself tried to push the injection into his hand. Caijin tells his father that it's just like a mosquito bite. Since then, Caijin himself used to push injection to his father. Seeing this, everyone said, Caijin is a very intelligent girl. She can learn all kinds of work. Wanting to take the children out of school on a trip, the madam collects money from all the students. But till now, Caijin has not deposited his money. Today, madam asked him to deposit the money for the last time. Caijin stood there silently without saying a word. After coming home, Caijin listened to his parents. His father's work was completely stopped. With the money they had, how could 6 months pass? But here's Sajing's medical bills not accounted for. After hearing all this, how will Caijin tell his parents that he will need money for his school trip? But the next day, while going to school, his father gives money to Caijin for the school trip. Caijin skips going to school and comes into the forest. He now leaves home every day to go to school. But instead of going to school, he goes to the forest to collect jarabut. And by selling them in the market, he collects some money, and every day during the school holidays he returns home so that his parents do not realize that he does not go to school. The fast food vendor next to him in the market asks Caijin to check out his store. Then he goes somewhere. Just then, a woman comes and buys some food from that store. But he paid Caijin more than the price. Caijin runs up to him, and the extra money he gives back to him. The woman was totally surprised to see this behavior of this little girl. Even with so many problems in the family, Caijin couldn't give up his conscience. A week passes like this, the madam from before the school is back. He asks his friend Chen about Caijin. He doesn't say anything because he promised to Caijin. That's why madam brings him to Caijin's house. He feels bad seeing Caijin's parents like this. Parents ask Madam Caijin did no wrong. Madam reveals everything to her parents, who has not been to Caijin's school for the past week. Caijin's parents are a little surprised after hearing this, because every day Caijin goes from home to school with a school bag during school time. After some time, Caijin returns home with fuel cut from the forest, and he is very scared to see Madam. When asked about all this, he remained silent for a while, then said that if I go to school, father's medicine will not come. How will a family run? And that's why I go to the market every day to sell jari beauty. He takes out some money and says, I have saved this money myself. Seeing the thoughts of such a little girl, the parents were proud. At the same time, the madam also had a lot of love for her. The next day, madam asks him to come to school. When madam is checking everyone's homework in the class, she sees that the copy of Caijin is empty, because of which everyone laughs. And just then, Chen stands up to say something. But Caijin keeps forbidding, points to Madam Chen, and asks to tell everything. Chen says Caijin couldn't do homework. It's because he has to do all the family work, serving his parents, cooking food, cleaning the house, washing clothes all alone. He has to do it by hand. There is a Kaizen in all of us, who saves money for the family by selling zaributi. Hearing her words, the children were stunned for some time. Madam says, yes, this is our Caijin. One suddenly says, I will help Caijin. Then everyone in the class looks who wants to help Caijin. The next day, all the kids come to Caijin's house. They bring new creatures for cousin's father. They all finish Caijin's homework in a few hours. This mischievous boy, Seo, also becomes Caijin's friend. Meanwhile, Madam wrote a story about Caijin, reading Caijin's life story, thinking that it will inspire many, and maybe some can help Caijin. Madam told her husband, if our son can adopt 10th of Caijin's behavior, then I myself will feel very lucky. Caijin's life comes with a much bigger shock. The doctor sees a report and says that Sejin will never be able to walk again. Their last hope is extinguished. Hearing this, Caijin was very upset, and he hugged his mother and began to cry. At night, Caijin wraps the veil around his father's waist, making him exercise. It seems that his father may be a little better. Meanwhile, Seo asks for some money from her mother Yuan. This is the woman to whom Caijin returned the money in the market that day. Sawa says Caijin attends our school. Her parents are paralyzed. We want to help her after hearing this. Her mother agrees to give the money. Done, Seo tells her mother. I saw a red bracelet in your watch box, and the same bracelet is on Caijin's hand. He is surprised to hear that Yuan is actually the woman we saw at the beginning of the movie, standing at the crossroads with a child. This woman is actually Caijin's biological mother. That day, he left his daughter at the door of the temple. In fact, it is a great responsibility to understand the fun game of fate. Caijin was born into a wealthy family, but fate placed him in this slum. Yan arrives at Caijin's house and apologizes to them. She says Caijin is my daughter. I am her biological mother. She brings some of Caijin's childhood clothes, along with a bracelet as proof, as in Caijin's hand. Wan did not have the courage to take his daughter to himself. But today he wants to take Caijin with him. Meanwhile, Louis thinks Caijin will be taken away from them. He tells Yuan, "You call yourself Caijin's mother. But how can a mother leave her child at the door of a temple at night? Do you think you can do anything because you have money? Caijin is our child," he tells Yuan to get out of here. When Yuan left here, Caijin left behind some things. Then he came out and sat in the car crying profusely and went back home. On the other hand, Caijin is seen bringing wood from the forest to the riverbank. After he cleans his face and eyes, the tired Caijin falls asleep here. And in his sleep, he dreams that both his parents are walking towards him. Caijin is overjoyed to see that they are perfectly healthy and runs to hug his mother. But after a while, he comes to know that it is actually possible only in dreams. What he had been dreaming about for so long. He left for home again with the firewood. Meanwhile, Caijin and Lu think about Caijin's mother, as well as Caijin's future, and make a decision. At that time, Caijin came home. Caijin saw that all his favorite dishes were cooked today. Hungry Caijin was eating the food with great satisfaction, and her parents were watching her daughter eat for the last time. At night, Caijin fell asleep, and her parents were crying and packing up all of Caijin's belongings. Lu also gave her daughter one of her bangles, which was the last sign of Lu's mother, and the most precious thing in this family. They look at Caijin with great admiration, because they may never get this opportunity again. In the morning, Caijin is looking for an address. Actually, Liu sent him to that address. He told Kaiwan to deliver this bag there, also a letter, but she doesn't know it is sent to her real mother. When he arrives here, seeing that it is his friend Seo's house, he tells Sewa, "I want to meet your mother, because my mother sent something for him." When Yuan comes out, he is very happy to see Caijin, and immediately brings him inside the house. He hugs Caijin and starts crying. At first, Caijin does not understand anything. What's going on with that? But when Caijin found out about all this, he didn't delay for a moment. He started running towards home. Lu came with him. When he came home, Caijin found the door locked. He went to every neighbor and asked about his parents. But no one knows anything about his parents. And at this time, the school teacher, along with some other children, arrived there. All of them started searching the whole village for Caijin's parents. And then comes Uncle Jane. "You don't care who he is, Caijin. They are fine where they are." But for a moment, Caijin doesn't want to leave his parents. Seeing Caijin crying, Zen is forced to take him there, where Caijin's parents were. As soon as he comes here, Caijin hugs his mother and cries a lot, and says, "You two are my real parent. I don't want to leave you anywhere else." The whole village was stunned, who said, "One's blood is one's own." In fact, love has that power, which can make any person its own. The school madam wrote an article about Kaizen, through which everyone came to know about Kaizen. In fact, that article on Caijin was printed in every TV channel and newspaper. Many come from different places, including the village, to meet Caijin's parents, and everyone helps them. Here is a Dr. Zheng from Indonesia. He read this article. Dr. Zheng said the story of Caijin touched all of us. Many Chinese people living in other countries, including America and Indonesia, have helped Caijin's family. The movie ends with a smile from Caijin. At the end of the movie, some details of this true story are revealed. Peng Cai Jin took great care of his foster parents. His foster parents both died in 2006 and 2007. Stories of Caijin's virtues were recognized and admired by the entire society. She has received numerous honorary titles, including Guangdong's Top 10 Newsmaker and National Ethical Model nominations. In real life, In 2010, Peng Cai Jin was honored to be the torchbearer for the 16th Guangzhou Asian Games. In 2010, Peng Cai Jin proudly had the privilege of running with the torch at the 16th Asian Games, held in Guangzhou. A good man has many virtues, and every person who serves his parents has his own religion. Man can blossom his own character through humanity and morality. Friends, how was the story of today's movie? I will see you again in a new video. Until then, everyone will be fine. God bless.